Hello, coin collectors, and welcome to the DC Coin World International Coin Channel. Today we're going live with a United Kingdom 1957 coin collection, and we see a lot of them right down here. A couple of them will have to give you an explanation because they didn't make all the coins in 1957. They didn't make the whole set, and one of them we don't have, but we'll just kind of go through them and kind of get a fix on it. So let's start with the lowest denominator, and that is the half penny. Now, look at this baby. All right, so this is the 1957 half penny. If we look at it really closely, we see that there is some initials right here, and the initials, of course, are from Thomas Humphrey Paget, who was the designer of this half penny coin. And there's something really interesting about this half penny coin, and that is in 1957 they came out with what they call the rough seas version. In most of the 1957 ones, if you look at these waves underneath, so let's look at them, really magnify it. We see how these waves underneath kind of move around a little bit. Well, prior to that, all of the half pennies were what they called the calm seas version. So let's look at this 1955. See how it just goes flat across there, these waves, and see how these ones kind of undulate? So in 1957, for some reason, the penny came out with what they called the rough seas version. And it's a common coin, and almost all of the 1957s are this kind of rough seas. If you find a 1957 with the straight lines across, that's a good one because those are a lot rarer. It's a lot more rare to find a 1957 with the calm seas than it is with the rough seas, because almost all of them were rough seas versions. So this is a half penny, and so if we look at the half penny, we see that it is pretty big. Let's put say a new penny in next to a half penny. We see that this new penny, look how huge it is. So not only is it pretty big, but this was under the old pound standard, so there were 480 of these to a pound. And if we look at the back, we see, of course, that it's the three-masted Francis Drake's Golden Hind, and we can kind of see all the stuff there. Oh, I've got something I want to show you. Um, uh, Bungle collects coins from the United Kingdom, sent me this swizzle stick, and so I'm going to use this to point out some stuff today. So at the top it says half, over here it says penny, has a kind of the geared outer edge, these kind of flourishes here. You can see the ports for the cannons here, and the sails, the Union Jack here, and the pennant there. And then, of course, on the front, because this is in the 50s, and Queen Elizabeth had just come into the throne, we have the Mary Gillick first portrait of Queen Elizabeth with the laureate hair, with the ribbons flying, and kind of a little bit kind of ponytailish there. Now, the next one we'll show you is the penny, and here it is. Well, there's nothing there, I know. And why is that? Because from 1954 until 1960, they didn't make a penny. So it turns out in the late 40s, they made all of these pennies in the early 50s. And then they just decided to not make pennies from 1954 until 1960. So there aren't any pennies. So we have this is the 49, just a large penny, and of course that's the predecessor of Queen Elizabeth II, her father George VI, right there, King of all Britons, defender of the faith. So no pennies from 1957. So if you're looking for one, you won't find one until 1961. Here's the 62. Looks kind of like this, and the 62. No real changes on it from the 50s. One of the reasons that they stopped making the pennies was because of this coin right here. 1937, George VI came out with the three-pence coin. And the three-pence made it much easier. It's a smaller coin if we look at it versus the penny. So if you have a 3-pence, look at that. So that this is 3 of these, right? And there's 80 of these to the old British pound sterling. So people went with the 3-pence and didn't carry either the half-pence or the penny if they could help it. Of course, with the war economy, the pennies kind of did were used a lot, but after the war and in the late 50s, as Britain started to get its economy back on track again, they just didn't use the pennies as much. So no pennies. But there was a 3-pence, and I showed you the 37 just because that's the first year they came out with it and it changed everything. But here's the 57. And we see that on the back of the 1957, it says 3 on this side, pence on this side. There's a crown here over a portcullis. And some of you might know this now as the symbol of the British Houses of Parliament. This portcullis here, the crown portcullis. At the time, this was a Tudor symbol, and Tudor is the family of Queen Elizabeth II, who's been on the throne. This is a William Maving Gardner. Let's see if we can blow this way up. William Maving Gardner, so we have the WG initials here for William Maving Gardner, and he's the engraver of this coin. This coin, again, there were 80 of these to a pound. Same Mary Gillick front portrait. There she is. And, of course, it's the dodecagonal, the 12-sided coin with the kind of rounded edges. Kind of a heavy coin, 6.8 grams. What's next? Well, one of the old favorites, and that's the 6-pence. And there's that beautiful 6-pence from 1957. It says 6 here in letters SIX, pence. Over here it says Fid Def, Defender of the Faith. Because of the design of the front, they actually took off the FD off the front and put it on the back. And then down here you see some kind of interesting things here. We see a CT and a EF. Now the CT, of course, is Mr. Cecil Thomas, and Cecil Thomas, Cecil C-E-C-I-L, was the engraver of this coin, as well as Edgar Fuller. And so that's why we have the EF here and the CT. And when we look really closely, we see there's some other stuff on here that shows the United Kingdom. Well, there's a Tudor rose for England or Britain. There is the thistle for Scotland. There is the shamrock for Northern Ireland. And of course, there's the Welsh leek over there on the left. Again, a geared kind of outer edge. This one, on the rim on this one, you can tell that it is a reeded rim. And then there's the Mary Gillick portrait, which is going to, of course, be on all of these coins. What's after the 6-pence? Well, many of you know this, but for those of you who don't, there was a 1-shilling coin. Now, the 1-shilling is a little different, and we need to be very careful when we look at these ones. It's worth 1/20th of a pound sterling, or essentially what a 5-pence coin would be today for the current pound. Now, the 1/20th, and if some people say, well, why don't you center it? Well, there's a reason that this one isn't centered, and that's because they made 2 different versions of the 1-shilling coin in 1950s. Well, actually, for the whole time they made them. They made the Scottish rising lion version here, and you can see how the lion is standing up in the center. And then they made the English or British lying down lion, or lion's passant version. Both of these engravings are William Maving Gardner engravings, and we can tell because we see the W here and the G here, William Maving Gardner, and then over here we see the W and the G. If you can't see that, I'll expand it a little bit. This one, sometimes people say it's a W and a C, but it's not. The G's get kind of a little messed up, but if we look at this one, you can definitely see that rising lion in the center, and then this one you can see the 3 lions passant. They still look pretty rough, but they are not standing like the Scottish version. So we have a Scottish and a um, English version of the 1-shilling coin. Next up is the 2-shilling. And this is it right here. And again, you'll notice that some of these concepts kind of flow through. So we have the thistle going around here, high. We have the shamrock for Northern Ireland here. And then we have the leek for Wales here, here, and here. And then in the very center, we have the Tudor rose on this one. A geared outer rim, this is 1957. And then we'll have to do the same thing on this one. We'll see the Edgar Fuller EF and Cecil Thomas initials on here because, of course, they're the engravers of the 2-shilling coin. Next up would be the half crown. Now here's the unfortunate thing, and we don't have a 57 half crown, so I'll show you the 56 half crown. And the reason I'm showing you is because it's a beautiful coin. It's just that we just didn't have the 57. We only had the 56. So let's look at, is there anything special about the 57? Not really. They made 34.2 million. They're worth probably $2 in this condition. It's right here. It's a copper nickel coin. None of these coins are silver. And they got rid of the silver except for the crowns, and they did not make a crown in 56 or 57. But so this is the 56 version. We see it says Fid Def, or Defender of the Faith, at the top. We have the crowned quartered shield of arms. And if we look at the shield of arms, we see another thing that we've seen on the other ones. Here's the lion's passant in these corners, the lion standing for Scotland. So, and then here we have the harp for Northern Ireland. Now, of course, this one doesn't have the Welsh symbol on this particular one. It says half crown. Then, of course, the year would be 57 for the 57, and then back in front again for the Mary Gillick portrait here. And it says Elizabeth II, Dea Gratia Regina, by the grace of God, Queen. So we have the half crown, the 2 shillings, the 2 different 1 shillings, the standing lion and the lions lying down. We have the 6-pence, 6p. We have the 3p, and we have the half. Oops, let's get the right one. We have the half p, and the reason that I had that 55, of course, remember, is these are the roiling or rough seas version. All the ones prior to that had the kind of calm seas. So look for the 57, but if you can find a calm seas, collect that one because it's a great one. All right, that's all we have today from DC Coinworld International Coin Channel. We'd love to have you subscribe to our channel and leave any comments you might have in the comments section.